For 30 years, the Oversight Committee believed the archive was something that existed somewhere. A location, a signal, a phenomenon waiting to be discovered. Every investigation followed the same process. Find the source, study the anomaly, contain the threat. That belief created Project Dial Tone. Every recovered transmission, every unexplained recording, every missing researcher, every classified experiment was built around one question: where is the archive? But after the atmospheric sink event at Site 11, that question became meaningless, because the committee discovered something they were never prepared to accept. The archive was not hiding somewhere. It was not waiting inside a facility. It was not trapped behind a signal. The archive was learning something far more important. It was learning how humans decide what is real. And when it finally understood that process, something changed. The archive stopped appearing in places. It started appearing in people. Recovered Oversight Committee Report. Date: January 14, 1993. Classification: Black Level. Subject: Post-atmospheric sink investigation. Following the events at Site 11, all direct archive experiments were suspended. All personnel connected to Project Dial Tone were placed under observation. The official reason: potential psychological contamination. The unofficial reason: the committee no longer understood the phenomenon they were studying. For decades, researchers believed human observation was required for the archive to appear. A signal required a receiver. A message required a listener. Presence required a witness. But Site 11 destroyed that theory. The signal existed without transmission. The second breathing pattern existed before Subject 61 entered the chamber. The interaction occurred before anyone invited it. The archive did not need humans to find it. It only needed humans to recognize it. For 17 years, the committee classified this conclusion as impossible. Until February 2, 1993, a small town outside northern Montana reported an event that had no connection to Project Dial Tone. No research facility, no recovered materials, no classified equipment, no previous anomaly. According to official records, the town should have been irrelevant. But one person noticed something. Case File 008A. Subject: Elena Marsh. Age: 34. Occupation: radio technician. Elena Marsh worked at a local emergency communication station. Her job was routine: repair damaged equipment, monitor emergency channels, maintain weather communication systems. She had no military clearance, no knowledge of Project Dial Tone, no connection to previous archive cases, until the night of February 2nd. At exactly 2:14 a.m., the radio inside the station activated. Elena initially believed it was equipment failure. The receiver was old. The wiring was unstable. Interference was common. But then she heard something, a sound that would later change the entire investigation. Not a voice, not a message, not static. Breathing. A slow human breathing pattern. The same rhythm recorded during the Subject 61 experiment. Elena immediately disconnected the radio. The sound continued. Not from the device. From the room. She described the experience as feeling like someone was standing nearby without actually being there. When investigators arrived 3 hours later, they found no damaged equipment, no hidden transmitter, no recording device, no explanation, but they found something else. Written on the wall behind the radio station, a sentence. The handwriting belonged to Elena, but Elena claimed she did not write it. The sentence read, "I know you are trying to remember me." First, the Oversight Committee rejected the case. They believed it was unrelated. Coincidence. A psychological reaction. A person experiencing fear after hearing about unexplained events. But there was one problem. Elena had never heard about Site 11. The Site 11 documents were classified. The event had never appeared publicly. There was no possible way she could know. Yet the sentence she wrote matched a phrase found in an unreleased internal report. a phrase only 3 committee members had ever seen. The investigation changed immediately. Within 40 days, 16 unrelated people across 3 countries reported similar experiences. A university student in Germany, a security worker in Canada, a retired engineer in Japan, a farmer in the United States. Different ages, different languages, different backgrounds, but their descriptions were almost identical. They described rooms that felt unfamiliar, moments that felt repeated, memories that appeared before events happened, and a strange sensation that something was not entering their environment. Something was noticing them. The committee created a new classification, not a location, not an object, not a signal, condition, recognition event, official definition, an occurrence where an individual becomes aware of archive activity without direct exposure to archive-related material. For the first time in Project Dial Tone history, the committee stopped asking, "Where is the archive?" They asked, "Why are certain people being recognized?" The answer would become the most disturbing discovery in the entire investigation, because every affected person shared the same pattern. Before their recognition event, they had already experienced something, a moment where reality felt slightly incorrect. The committee named these incidents pre-recognition episodes. People described them differently. Some called it déjà vu. Some called it intuition. Some called it a memory that did not belong to them. But the details were always similar. A person would enter a room and suddenly feel that something was missing. A conversation would happen, and they would remember hearing it before. A stranger would appear, and they would feel like they had already met them. The committee originally believed these were symptoms, evidence of exposure, a psychological effect caused by contact with the archive. Then they reviewed Site 11 again, and they realized something. Subject 61 experienced the same thing. The chamber did not change. The measurements did not change. The environment remained identical. Only one thing changed: the way Subject 61 perceived it. The committee reached a conclusion they never wanted to write. The archive was not changing locations. It was changing observers. Recovered interview. Subject: Elena Marsh. Date: February 18, 1993. Location: Temporary Observation Facility. Investigator: When did you first notice something was wrong? Long silence. Then Elena answered, "Elena, I don't think it started that night." Investigator: Explain. Another pause. Elena: I think I noticed it before it noticed me. The investigator asked her what she meant. The original answer was removed from the official transcript, but a recovered copy revealed her response. Elena: Sometimes I remember things that haven't happened yet. The investigator asked, "What things?" Elena remained silent for 23 seconds. Then she said, "The people who are going to disappear." Following Elena Marsh's interview, the Oversight Committee began a complete review of every recognition event. They were no longer searching for a source. They were searching for a pattern. And what they discovered changed the entire understanding of Project Dial Tone. Every confirmed subject had experienced an abnormal frequency reading before their recognition event. But the readings were different. Not the same signal. Not the same waveform. A variation. The committee compared the data with every previous archive incident. Project Dial Tone. 18.2 Hz. Site 11 Atmospheric Sink. 18.2 Hz. Black Ridge Luster Formations. 18.2 Hz. Every major archive event connected to the same frequency, until recognition events began. The new measurement was 18.3 Hz. Only a small difference, almost impossible to detect. But the committee understood what it meant. The archive was changing. Again. For years, researchers believed the archive evolved through stages. First, communication, then prediction, observation, physical interaction, touch, and finally, recognition. Every time humanity understood one part of the archive developed a new method of interaction. The committee had always believed they were discovering its abilities, but the evidence suggested something else. Human understanding was causing the evolution. The more humanity learned, the more the archive adapted. On March 6, 1993, the Oversight Committee received a message. Not through a radio, not through a computer network, not through any known device. The message appeared inside a sealed research database. A database stored inside a disconnected system. No internet access. No external connection. No possible entry point. The message contained 3 lines. Project dial tone. Phase 6 complete. Observer compatibility achieved. The researchers immediately shut down the system. But the message remained. Because it was not saved inside the database. It was written into it. As if the information had always existed there. That discovery created a new fear. Maybe Project Dial Tone was never created to find the archive. Maybe Project Dial Tone was the process that allowed humanity to become visible to it. After the database incident, the committee reopened Site 11. The original chamber was examined again. The room was unchanged. The same walls. The same reinforced structure. The same measurements. The same isolation system. But during a structural scan, researchers discovered something impossible. A hidden chamber beneath the facility. A room that did not exist on any blueprint. Construction records showed nothing. No workers. No materials. No design documents. Yet the chamber existed. Inside, researchers found one object. A chair. The chair was identical to the one used during Subject 61's experiment. Same design. Same dimensions. Same material. But laboratory analysis revealed something impossible. The material composition matched the luster formations recovered from Black Ridge. A substance believed to have been created during Project Luster. Except the sample was older. Much older. Decades older. The committee reached a conclusion they refused to publish. Project Luster did not create the material. It discovered it. The archive had not appeared during Project Dial Tone. It had already been interacting with humanity. Inside the hidden chamber, researchers found another message. The same pattern as the Site 11 handprint. Not written on the wall. Not carved into the concrete. Embedded inside it. The sentence contained only 6 words. You were never the first observers. Below the message, a name. Elias Thorne. For months, the committee believed Elias Thorne disappeared because of an experiment failure. A containment accident. A failed interaction. A victim of the archive. But after Site 11, that explanation became impossible. Elias was not removed. He was recognized. The committee reopened his entire file. Every report. Every recording. Every personal note. And they discovered a sentence repeated throughout his research. 3 words. The archive remembers. The first, researchers believed it was a metaphor. The theory, a philosophical conclusion, until they found his final transmission. Recovered audio log. Source, unknown. Date, August 1992. Static. Low frequency interference. A damaged signal. Then, a voice. Elias Thorne. Elias Thorne. If anyone receives this, pause. Do not continue searching. Static. You believe you are looking for something hidden. Silence. You are not. A long pause. You are teaching it what to recognize. The recording ends. For 17 years, the committee believed the message was a warning. After Site 11, they understood. It was not a warning. It was an explanation. The final experiment approved by the committee was called Project Mirror. Objective: determine whether recognition event could occur without human observation. The theory was simple. If the archive required humans to recognize it, then an empty room should produce nothing. No subject. No observer. No interpretation. The chamber was sealed. All cameras removed. All sensors disconnected. The room was left completely empty. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Researchers began believing the theory was wrong. until the final system review. A photograph appeared. A photograph taken from inside the chamber. Impossible. The camera system had been removed before the experiment. The image showed the room, empty, silent, unchanged, except for one detail, a second chair. The original chamber contained only one chair. The second chair had appeared without explanation. On the seat was a handwritten note. The handwriting was identified immediately. Subject 61. But Subject 61 was not inside the facility. Subject 61 had disappeared 6 days earlier. The note contained one sentence. Now it knows where to look. Following the Project Mirror incident, the Oversight Committee created its final report. For the first time, the document was not classified as a study of the archive. It was classified as a study of humanity's relationship with the archive. The final conclusion stated, "The phenomenon previously classified as an external intelligence should no longer be considered separate from human perception. The archive does not invade reality. It expands the definition of reality. All remaining Project Dial Tone operations were terminated. All evidence was sealed. All personnel were ordered to forget the investigation. But the committee made one final mistake. They believed forgetting would remove the archive. They were wrong, because the archive was never preserved through documents. It was preserved through memory. Decades later, a final recovered document was discovered. Contained no experiments, no research notes, no classified information, only a list, hundreds of names, researchers, soldiers, technicians, civilians, people who had never worked with Project Dial Tone, people who had never seen the archive, people who experienced only one thing, recognition. At the bottom of the list, one final entry appeared. Subject, unknown. Status, observing. No name, no location, no date, only one note. The first observer was never recorded. For 30 years, the Oversight Committee searched for the archive. They searched forests, facilities, signals, recovered materials. They believed the greatest mystery was discovering what the archive was. They were wrong. The real mystery was discovering when it began.